My dear brothers and sisters, before we begin, I want to ask you something. Not with your mind, but with your heart. Have you ever felt stuck in life? Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you try, something is missing? Something heavy sits on your chest. Something keeps pulling you back. Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and whispered, I wish I could start over? If you have ever felt lost, distant from Allah, overwhelmed by your past, or unsure of your future, then today's reminder is not just for you. It is Allah's invitation to you. Because what you're about to hear is not simply information. It is a door that Allah Himself has opened for every heart that wants to breathe again, rise again, and be forgiven again. That word is Istighfar. And today, I'm going to show you the power of this gift in a way that will make you see it differently forever. Stay with me till the end. Because if you truly understand what Istighfar can unlock, you will never let a day pass without it again. Let your heart listen. Let your soul breathe. And let this reminder be the one that transforms your life. Istighfar is not simply a phrase of apology. It is a doorway that Allah has opened for every human being, regardless of their past, their weakness, or their struggles. When we say that Istighfar is the door to every good, it means that this simple phrase, Astaghfirullah, carries within it the power to bring about transformations in our internal world as well as in our external life. Many people imagine that seeking forgiveness is only related to sins or mistakes, but in reality, Istighfar is a comprehensive path to well-being, barakah, and divine assistance. When a person turns to Allah with sincerity and humility, admitting their shortcomings, they are essentially knocking on a door that Allah has promised to open. The door of goodness in all its forms. Goodness does not come only in material forms. Goodness begins in the heart. When someone regularly engages in Istighfar, the first change they notice is an emotional one. Their heart becomes calmer, their thoughts become clearer, and their anxiety begins to ease. This is because Istighfar carries a spiritual cleansing effect. Sins, negligence, and forgetfulness weigh the heart down, creating heaviness, sadness, or restlessness. Even when a person does not consciously feel guilty, the heart carries subtle burdens. With Istighfar, these burdens begin to dissolve. A heart that is light and clean naturally begins to attract goodness. Good thoughts, good decisions, good actions, and good outcomes. Allah has tied Istighfar to multiple forms of goodness in the Quran. When the people of Prophet Nuh were suffering from drought, poverty, and lack of growth, the solution given to them was to seek forgiveness. This means that Istighfar is not simply a spiritual exercise. It is a cause for physical, emotional, and worldly solutions. The one who makes Istighfar a habit finds that doors begin to open unexpectedly. If rizq is tight, Allah expands it. If a person lacks opportunities, Allah sends them. If someone feels stuck, Allah creates movement in their life. This shows that every good that a person wishes for in this world, fulfillment, success, stability, harmony, can be facilitated by Istighfar. But the goodness that comes from Istighfar is not limited to what can be seen or touched. It also includes inner strength, resilience, and closeness to Allah. A person who seeks forgiveness recognizes that their strength is not from themselves but from their Lord. This humility itself becomes a cause for divine elevation. When someone says Astaghfirullah, they are showing reliance on Allah, acknowledging His power and His mercy. When Allah sees a servant turning back to Him repeatedly, even after falling and failing, He responds with a special kind of nurturing. He protects them from future harm, guides their heart, and grants them the wisdom to make better choices. This is a goodness that cannot be bought or earned through any worldly means. There is also goodness in relationships and interactions. When a person practices Istighfar, their ego becomes softer. They become more forgiving of others, more patient, and more compassionate. This leads to healing in families, friendships, and marriages. Many people suffer from arguments, misunderstandings, or family tension, not realizing that their own spiritual state affects the way they respond to others. Istighfar polishes the heart, and when the heart is polished, the tongue becomes kinder and the character becomes more beautiful. This itself becomes a source of goodness that spreads beyond the individual. And finally, Istighfar brings goodness in ways we do not even realize. There are harms we never see because Allah blocked them. There are blessings we receive without asking because Allah opened the way. There are difficulties that become easy because Allah assisted us silently. All of this begins with one simple act, turning back to Allah and saying Astaghfirullah with sincerity. Consistent istighfar is not just a practice of the tongue, it is a journey of the heart, a process of returning to Allah again and again until the heart becomes polished, pure, and spiritually alive. When we say that istighfar transforms the heart, we are acknowledging something profound. The human heart is constantly affected by what it sees, hears, feels, and experiences. Every sin, every moment of heedlessness, every emotional wound, every disappointment leaves a mark. Over time, these marks accumulate and create spiritual fog. The heart loses its sensitivity, its clarity, and even its ability to recognize what is right or wrong. Many people do not realize how much inner heaviness they are carrying because it builds slowly, quietly, and gradually. This is where consistent istighfar becomes a powerful tool for transformation. Every time a person says Astaghfirullah, a layer of that fog is lifted. Even if one does not feel immediate change, something inside shifts. The heart begins to breathe again. The guilt that once felt overwhelming begins to soften. The confusion that once clouded judgment begins to clear. Allah created the heart in such a way that it cannot remain clean without constant maintenance, just like a mirror that needs to be wiped regularly. If neglected, the mirror becomes covered with dust. Istighfar is the act of wiping the dust from the mirror of the heart so it can reflect truth, light, and guidance. People often wonder why they feel spiritually numb, even though they pray or read Quran. One of the reasons is the accumulation of unseen spiritual stains. Consistent istighfar removes these stains, allowing worship to penetrate deeply instead of remaining at the surface. A heart that engages in istighfar becomes more receptive during salah, more moved by the Quran, and more aware of Allah's presence. Over time, this changes the way a person responds to life. A heart soaked in istighfar reacts with patience during hardship, with gratitude during ease, and with humility during success. Another part of this transformation comes from the psychological effect of istighfar. When someone acknowledges their mistakes before their Lord and seeks forgiveness, they free themselves from the burden of guilt and the fear of punishment. Instead of running away from their flaws, they face them with honesty and hope. This creates emotional stability and inner strength. Rather than carrying hidden shame or unresolved spiritual wounds, the heart learns to heal with every repetition of Astaghfirullah. This healing is not temporary. It becomes a gradual rebuilding of spiritual confidence. The person begins to trust their ability to grow, to improve, and to return to Allah no matter how far they have drifted. Istighfar also aligns the heart with Allah's qualities, mercy, generosity, forgiveness, and compassion. When you repeatedly turn back to Allah seeking His forgiveness, you start reflecting those qualities in your behavior. You become more forgiving of others' mistakes because you are constantly reminded of your own. You become more merciful in your interactions because you feel Allah's mercy descending upon you. You become more humble because istighfar teaches you that without Allah you are dependent, weak, and in constant need. The more consistent a person is with istighfar, the more they feel a deeper connection with Allah. This connection transforms the heart by replacing spiritual dryness with spiritual sweetness. The remembrance of Allah becomes comforting instead of obligatory. Worship becomes a desire instead of a task. The person begins to find peace not in worldly distractions but in moments of closeness to Allah. This is the greatest transformation of all. When the heart shifts from being attached to the temporary to being anchored in the eternal, over time, this transformation becomes visible in a person's character. They become calmer, more thoughtful, less reactive, and more spiritually conscious. Their decisions are guided by clarity rather than impulse. Their emotions become balanced because the heart that is connected to Allah gains stability. Consistent istighfar nurtures a heart that is alive, soft, and protected. A heart that recognizes guidance and resists misguidance. A heart that carries light within it even on the darkest days. Istighfar is one of the greatest gifts Allah has given His servants because it brings solutions that human planning could never achieve. When we say that Istighfar brings solutions you could never plan, we acknowledge a truth that every believer eventually experiences. You can work hard, think deeply, plan carefully, and still face roadblocks that seem impossible to overcome. Humans operate within limited knowledge, limited strength, and limited resources. But Istighfar connects you to the one whose knowledge, power, and resources are limitless. Through it, Allah opens doors in ways the mind could not imagine and the hands could not create. Life is full of problems that leave people confused or stuck. Financial strain, emotional distress, broken relationships, lost opportunities, lack of direction, and overwhelming responsibilities can make a person feel trapped. In such moments, people often try to think their way out, talk their way out, or fight their way out. But sometimes the solution is not in doing more, it is in returning to Allah sincerely. When a person seeks forgiveness, they are essentially clearing the spiritual blockages that prevent blessings from reaching them. Sins, negligence, and forgetfulness act like barriers. They interrupt the flow of divine help. Istighfar removes those barriers, allowing Allah's support to reach the person effortlessly. Allah promises in the Quran that whoever seeks forgiveness sincerely, He will grant them ease, open the gates of sustenance, and provide from sources they never expected. This means that Istighfar is not just a spiritual practice, it is a cause of practical change. It brings solutions through ways that bypass human effort. For example, a job may appear impossible to get, yet after consistent Istighfar, an unexpected call arrives. A person who feels hopeless about marriage suddenly finds the right proposal. Someone struggling with debt may be relieved through a way they never predicted. A person confused about their path may find clarity in the very place they once felt lost. These outcomes are not coincidences. They are Allah's responses to the hearts that return to Him. The beauty of Istighfar is that it does not require effort that exhausts the body or drains the mind. It is simply a sincere turning back to Allah. In that returning, there is a hidden humility. A person who makes Istighfar admits that they do not control their own destiny, that they need Allah for every step, and that their mistakes, whether small or major, cannot be carried alone. This humility is beloved to Allah, and He rewards it with solutions that come through His generosity rather than through the person's own capacity. Istighfar also gives a person spiritual clarity. Often the biggest problems in life are not the problems themselves, but the confusion surrounding them. When a person's heart is clouded by sins, distractions, or worry, even small issues feel overwhelming. But when Istighfar clears the heart, the person begins to see solutions clearly. They become guided to actions, decisions, and paths that they previously overlooked. Sometimes the solution was always there, but the heart was too heavy to recognize it. Istighfar lifts that heaviness, making space for guidance and wisdom. Another powerful aspect of Istighfar is the unseen protection it brings. Sometimes Allah solves your problem by preventing the harm before it even reaches you. A difficulty that was coming your way may be redirected. A betrayal that could have hurt you may never happen. A loss that could have broken you may be turned into a blessing. These are solutions that you will never see, but will benefit from silently because Allah responds to your Istighfar in ways beyond your awareness. Many people can testify that their lives changed, not because they tried harder, but because they started saying Astaghfirullah consistently. Doors opened suddenly, opportunities aligned perfectly, stress lifted unexpectedly, hearts softened, relationships healed. These changes were not the result of strategy, but of sincerity. This is the secret power of Istighfar. It brings solutions from the Creator who already knew your problem long before you faced it and who knows the perfect way out long before you discover it. Istighfar becomes a person's strongest weapon in moments of weakness because it reconnects them to the one who is always strong, always present, and always merciful. Human beings naturally go through cycles of spiritual highs and lows. There are days when the heart feels close to Allah, full of light and certainty, and there are days when the heart feels distant, heavy, guilty, or confused. These low moments often create a sense of spiritual vulnerability that can leave a person feeling lost. In such moments, people sometimes turn to distractions, other people, or temporary comforts to escape their feelings. But none of these truly heal. Istighfar, however, goes straight to the root. It pulls the person out of their weakness and immediately restores their link with Allah. A person may stumble, commit a sin, fall into bad habits, or simply feel overwhelmed by life's pressures. Weakness is part of being human. But when someone immediately responds with istighfar, that moment of weakness becomes a moment of return. It becomes a moment where the heart shifts from self-reliance to Allah reliance. This is why istighfar is such a powerful weapon. It does not deny human weakness. It transforms it into spiritual strength. Instead of drowning in guilt or fear, istighfar gives you a way to rise again. In times of emotional weakness, such as sadness, heartbreak, stress, or anxiety, istighfar gives a person something to hold on to. The world feels unstable, but istighfar grounds the heart with remembrance. A single sincere astaghfirullah can calm emotions that have been spinning out of control for days. It reminds the heart that no burden is too heavy for Allah and no situation is beyond His power. Often the greatest pain is not the problem itself, but the feeling that one is facing it alone. Istighfar removes that loneliness by bringing the person back into Allah's protection. Spiritual weakness often comes with shame. A person may feel too embarrassed to pray, too unworthy to make dua, or too distant to feel hope. This inner voice tells them, you are too far gone. But istighfar is the direct answer to such thoughts. Allah has made it so simple and accessible that even the person who feels the most broken can say it. No purity is required, no perfect state, no formal setting, even in tears, even in darkness, even after a mistake. A whisper of astaghfirullah is enough to begin the journey back. This removes the barriers that shame tries to build and replaces them with a path toward mercy. Istighfar also protects a person in moments of temptation. When desires pull strongly, or when the whispers of shaitan become loud, repeating istighfar becomes an inner shield. It breaks the momentum of sin and interrupts the cycle of falling deeper. The heart that remembers Allah through istighfar is less likely to be dragged by its lower desires. Even if the person falls, the habit of istighfar pulls them back, preventing the sin from becoming a lifestyle. This protection is often invisible, but incredibly powerful. During moments of confusion or doubt, istighfar brings clarity. The heart becomes clouded when it is disconnected from Allah and uncertainty grows. But istighfar cleans the inner space where guidance descends. Many people have experienced this. They were stuck in a decision, unsure about the future, but after days of consistent istighfar, their mind cleared and a sense of direction replaced their confusion. This is not accidental. It is the effect of the heart being realigned with its Creator. Finally, istighfar is the strongest weapon because it is always accepted as long as it is sincere. A person may feel spiritually weak, but the moment they turn back, Allah welcomes them. No human relationship offers such immediate forgiveness. Even in your lowest moments, Allah allows you to rise simply through acknowledging Him. This certainty gives the believer inner strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances, sins, fear, or emotional turbulence. My dear brothers and sisters, if there is one message you carry from this entire reminder, let it be this: istighfar is not just a phrase, it is a lifeline. It is Allah's gift to every heart that feels heavy, every soul that feels distant, every believer who wants to return, and every person who dreams of a better life in this world and the next. When you make istighfar a habit, you invite mercy into your life, clarity into your mind, peace into your heart, and blessings into every step you take. It cleanses your past, strengthens your present, and prepares your future in ways you could never design on your own. Allah has placed immense power in this simple word, and once you truly experience it, you will never want to live without it again. So carry istighfar with you, not just as an act, but as a companion, a constant whisper on your tongue and a light in your heart. Let it remind you that no matter where you stand today, you can always rise higher tomorrow. Let it be the bridge between you and Allah's endless mercy. And let it be the key that unlocks every door you once thought was closed. Thank you for giving your time, your attention, and your heart to this reminder. May Allah bless every step you take toward Him, fill your days with peace, and surround your life with endless barakah. I wish you nothing but goodness, guidance, and success in both worlds.